What do you think is one of the most rewarding things that can happen to a cartoonist? Well, for me, it would be having my comic strip published and enjoyed by millions of people. Hi, I'm Bruce Blitz, and welcome to Cartooning with Blitz. But that's what we'll be doing today, comic strips. I mean, think about it. You can have all kinds of comic strips. You can have a daily drama strip, or an action strip, or just a gag-a-day strip. And speaking of comic strips, for our feature, we'll be interviewing Mort Walker, the creator of the long-running Beetle Bailey. And we'll be doing this at the International Museum of Cartoon Art in Boca Raton, Florida. It's a great place. And for our doodle trick, bird is the word. Finish cartoon birds from the word bird. So let's get started now, and I'll show you a comic strip that I made, and I'll read it to you. Now, in the first panel, I'm driving my little girl home from school, and I say, "How did it go with the flute duet you and Rachel played?" And she says, "I finished first." And I say, "Well, you'll do better next time, dear." And she says, she's thinking, "Gee, I thought that meant I won." She thought she did do well. See, with duets, you're supposed to like finish together. But anyway, let's go back to this first panel now, and I'll show you a little bit about the staging. Now, the staging is how I told the story. Now, in the first panel, that's an establishment shot. In other words, telling you, the reader, where we are. Now, we're in the car, and I could have had a real big talk balloon with all kinds of dialogue to let you know that, well, I'm picking her up from school and all that, and she had an assembly. But you know what? Just by putting them in the car, it tells you that she was being picked up from school, and especially the word school behind it with a little building tells you all that. So that helps you establish what's going on. And in the second panel, I switched the camera angle around so you're seeing her first and then me. And she's saying I finished first, and then because you're reading from left to right. And then the last panel, you already know where everybody is, everything's cool, so just kind of zoomed in on her a little bit and got a close-up with the thought balloon, and you still see me in the background just driving, and she says, "Gee, I thought that meant I won." And there it is. Now, this is the size that I worked, and most cartoonists work the more than double the actual reproduced size that you see it in the newspaper. Now, here's a size you might see it in the newspaper, and that varies a little bit from newspaper to newspaper, but it's pretty much this size. And it's purely a personal choice as to which size the cartoonist wants to work. Okay, the next stage is the rough. And the rough is what takes the idea that you had for your award-winning gag and puts it into, blocks and panels. And this one here is very rough, as you can see, but all it's for is to tell me how I'm going to break down the panels and how I'm going to tell my story best, and also to decide what kind of words I'm going to use. Okay, and I use this for my frame of reference. That's all I use it for. I'm going to tape it right down on my drawing board so I can look at it. Okay, now, for the sake of time, what I've done is I've penciled in the entire strip, as you can see, and with precise penciling. In other words, I have exactly what I want to ink in, and I've even done the lettering guide. You see how that's done? So you can put your lettering right in those lines so you can have them so they don't start waving around on you like that. All right, now, I'm going to tape this down, and we'll ink the third panel in together, and we'll letter it as well. Okay, so I'm going to get my pencil, and we're ready to go. So she says, "Gee, I thought," it looks like I'm running out of room a little bit, so I got to be careful. "That meant I won." Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to switch to my marker, which is just a felt tip pen with a medium-sized point, which I can get a thick and thin line if I bear down. But I'm not bearing down for the lettering. See, you just go over what you've done, and because you have it on that line, you know exactly what it's going to look like. Now, I'm going pretty quickly here. Normally, I might take a little more time, but I want to get to more things to show you. So, that meant, and lettering is very important to a strip because I've seen a lot of great strips kind of ruined by bad lettering. And a lot of cartoonists have people that just come in and do the lettering. Okay, now let's put that in the talk balloon. Now here's what I mean by thick and thin lines. I'm bearing down a little bit. See that little bubble there? And this lets you know who's doing the thinking. In this case, it's her. And this is the thought balloon. And now we'll draw her. Now, because she's a close-up, I want it to be pretty bold. So I'm really bearing down. See that? And here's her hair, and here's her ear. And let's see, now her facial outline. And her eyes. You know, I hate to tell you, this actually happened to me when I was a little guy. I played an accordion solo in school with a little girl named, I won't tell you her name, Bonnie Aronson. Actually, she came in first. We were great friends. And she was a great accordion player. And her accordion was much nicer than mine. Had all these bells and whistles on it and everything. And I only had 2 buttons. She had all these fancy buttons to change the sound around. All right, let's see what else. Okay, now I got a picture of me. Now, I'm in the background, so I'm not bearing down because I don't want the line to be quite as bold. And here's the facial outline. Because I'm not the main character in this part. Here's my collar. Here's my arm. Okay, now, there's a couple ways you can do the outline of the panel. You can use a ruler, or you can do it by hand and get a different look to it. Now, the way you do it is also a personal choice. Some people like to get the looseness of a hand-drawn panel as opposed to using a ruler. It's up to you. And that's about all I'm going to do right now. And now I'd like to show you the finished strip again and point out something to you. Now, do you notice in that first panel there, that area that looks a little shaded? Now, newspapers can't see gradated tones. They don't see half tones. What they only see is dots. And that's how you get gray areas. And what that is comprised of is dots, lots of dots. Now, how do you put that in there? Well, you could use a pen and just make a lot of dots. That's called a stipple effect. Or you can use cross-hatching. Or you can get a sheet of this, which is a pattern screen, and it's available in art stores. And what it is, it comes in all different kinds of patterns and all kinds of dots. And let's do one together. I have another one. And we'll do this. And I'll put the dot screen in it with you. Now, what you do is on this first panel here, what I'm going to do is lay this on top, just like that. And I can see through, and I know exactly, what I want to cut. So I'm going to lay it right over that part right there, and I'm going to get my cutting knife. Now, if you need help, have someone help you with a cutting knife because they are sharp. But it's the only way you can do this. Now, what you want to do is you want to extend past, on this part here, it's a straight line, so I'm going to leave that one right there. Now, I'm going to go past that line that I want to go, just a little bit, and I'll cut away the excess later. Now, I'm using my knife, and I'm bearing down not too hard, because I don't want to cut through this whole sheet. So now what I do is I lift up that piece that I just cut, using my cutting knife there, and there's that piece, comes right off, see? And it's got a sticky back. Now, it's not like permanent. It's a tacky back that you can reposition if you like, if you don't want it the first way. So you see that? Now, it covers that area just like I wanted. And now I'm going to cut away the excess. And again, not bearing down too hard, because if I do that, I'll cut through my artwork, and I don't want to do that. Then I can lift up the part that I cut away. And what do you do with that part? Well, you can put it back on the sheet because it's reusable, and there's no reason to waste. So I'm going to put that right back over there. And there you have it, and you could put this in different parts of your strip, and it comes in different screens. You can get herringbone for a suit, you can get different dot patterns, and it's a great way to add shading and tone to your black and white comic strip. Now, stay tuned for the feature of the day. One of the best things about having my own cartoon show is that I get to meet my cartooning heroes. And today's got to be one of my favorites, and probably yours too. For the past 50 years, my guest has been drawing and writing the Army's worst and funniest Army private, Beetle Bailey, and his wacky bunch of Army buddies. And Beetle Bailey is seen in over 1,800 publications worldwide. And in addition to that, my guest has created High and Lowest, Salmon Silo, Boner's Ark, and he's even the founder of the International Museum of Cartoon Art here in Boca Raton, Florida, where we are right now. And I'd like to introduce him to you, my new friend, Mr. Mort Walker. Mort, welcome to the show.
Bruce, nice to be here.
Oh, great to have you on the show. Now, as I said, 50 years of Beetle Bailey. Where do you come from? Is it based on someone you know? Is it you? I don't know.
All my characters are based on real people.
Okay.
I had a high school buddy who was so lazy that we went to play golf one day, and his mother said he's still in bed. So I go upstairs. I said, "Come on, David, let's get going." And he just turned over and went back to sleep. I turned his bed over. He fell out on the floor, grabbed his pillow, and went on sleeping. We missed our tea time.
You missed your tea time, and that was Beetle Bailey.
That was Beetle Bailey.
And that's where you get it. Now, Beetle Bailey and Sarge, that's where most of the interaction happens. Mm-hmm. But I counted, and tell me if I'm right, about 12 or 13 characters in the strip. I mean, it's really extensive. How many people
I
are
have
there?
more characters than any other strip that's running, I think. I've got about 30 characters.
Okay, now, what's the reason for that?
Well, an army isn't run by one or two people. You know? You've got to have a whole platoon.
Is it also because when you come up with a gag and it doesn't fit somebody, you say, we'll create somebody else?
Yeah, I like to space out the characters, the work that they do. Beetle's always on Monday. The side characters like the dog or the black lieutenant are on Tuesday. Miss Buxley's always on Wednesday.
I see.
Then it goes on down the line. They have their days.
Okay, well, would you start by drawing the star of the strip, Beetle Bailey?
Well,
and explain to us a little bit about how maybe you designed him, and also, has he evolved over the years?
Well, he's involved because he started out as a college character.
Okay.
Based on my experiences at the University of Missouri. And then the Korean War heated up, and I had to put him in. So there's one big change. Mm-hmm. He was tall and lanky, just like my friend David Hornaday. Mm-hmm. Now he's more squat and compact because it's just easier to fill up the space with him. He always has 3 freckles.
Okay. And they're always placed in that same spot, too, aren't they?
Well, wherever my pen hits the page, yeah.
Okay, but 3, and that's it.
That's right.
Okay, now, obviously, his interaction is always with Sarge, and I like to... That's one of my favorite characters, and his dog, who looks just like him.
Well, I had a Sarge whose name was Octavius Savu when I was in the infantry. Mm-hmm. And he was about the meanest, toughest guy you ever can imagine. One day, after a particularly tough day, going through the obstacle course, we came back, and on our pillows was a poem that he'd written to my boys. And I thought, what an incongruous thing to happen. You know, that guy's actually got a heart. So I based this character, Sergeant Snorkel, on Sergeant Savu. And he does have a heart.
That's great. Wait a minute. Now, put his collar in, please, and let me see. Now, what you do there is you simplify things like the collar, and your style is very clean and very neat, I noticed, and right to the point.
I learned that from Disney.
Okay.
I loved Disney when I was young. I did all the Disney cards when I worked for Hallmark Cards.
Okay.
And I learned how to draw the simple line.
Straight to the point type
Straight to the point, no messing around. I love to have clean and neat compositions without things interfering with each other. Well, you know, I make it readable. I want people to be able to read it quickly, fast, and not miss anything.
I see.
I mean, communication.
Yeah, you just get it right to the people. I understand. Quick recognition. What about your method of working? I mean, do you pencil? Is it tight penciling, loose? How's it go?
I pencil very tightly because someone else does my inking. My son, Greg, who's my oldest boy, helps me with it. And I want him to know exactly where I want my line. I don't want to do a lot of sketching. So you're pretty right on the mark with your penciling. Okay. Okay. And it's simpler that way. Some guys get in there and get sketching. I think, which line do they know to use?
Yeah, and then if it doesn't come out right, I guess it's it's understandable why it's not coming out. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, Sergeant Snorkel's dog, which is an animal in the strip, and it's a very funny character. Could you draw that for us too?
Sure. This character was based on a cartoonist, actually.
Okay.
He was a New Yorker cartoonist. His name was Otto Saglo.
Otto Saglo, the little king.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was about 5 feet high. Maybe wasn't that high. Mm-hmm. And he was always grumpy. It sounds just like a dog. And so when I created Otto, I thought, I'm going to base his character on my Otto.
What kind of advice could you give our friends at home if they wanted to come up with their own comic strip? Like, you know, you come up with so many, and you've created so many successful ones, like I said, Hi and Lois and Salmon Silo, and what would be your suggestion to to write and draw about?
A very strong central character that people get to know. They know his habits and the funny things he does.
Okay.
He can't be a success. He's got to be a failure. Okay. And
comedy is a person in trouble.
Right.
Right. Okay.
You know, a rich, successful guy is not very funny.
Yeah. Right. Right. Nothing happens to him.
So anyway, a character that people would want to tune in every morning and spend some time with at the breakfast table. So I create friends for people.
I see.
They have each specific personality. I try to keep them consistent, like Beetle's lazy, Plato's smart, Zero's dumb, Sarge is tough. So, you know, you don't miss. I like to base them on real people so that I can keep the characters consistent.
I see. My next question is, and as I said in the beginning, 50 years. Mort, 50 years of gags. I mean, where does it come from? Do you get help? I know you're tired. You gotta be tired.
No, that's the favorite part of my work is doing the writing.
Okay.
I sit there in my Barca lounge, I lean back and look at the ceiling and pretend I'm working.
And you pretend you're working. That's so your family thinks you're working. So they don't ask you to do anything. I have the same thing at home. Don't worry about it.
I have a system of working that helps me a great deal. I don't wait for an idea to come for it. Right. I just start writing. You know, Beetle and Sarge are walking down the street. Sarge sees something on the ground, says, Beetle, pick it up. Beetle says, I didn't drop it. You know, you just work yourself into a corner.
Yeah, you work yourself in the corner, right.
And then you come up with a punchline.
Okay, now, one of my favorite things about your strip is fight sequences. Could you do a real quick fight scene with, like, you see the arm popping out and the star and all that? Is that possible to do in the background?
Oh, yeah. Well, I usually have a big dust cloud.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Like that. Then I put Beetle's face in there. And of course, when you're fighting, your mouth is all screwed up.
Right, right.
And Sarge is over here. And then you draw an arm coming out of here somewhere.
Right.
And a foot over here.
Right, and you don't know how they got into these positions, but it doesn't matter.
And then I draw some stars and pow. And just, I don't know. Another foot down here, maybe. Maybe he lost his shoe.
Okay.
Then, of course, it's above the ground, and you get dust clouds coming out.
Always been my favorite thing.
People like to ask me all the time to draw a Beetle all crumpled up.
Right.
But then I get letters from people saying, you're showing violence in
your strip. Too much violence, yeah.
I said, if you think that violence is real, then you must think that a little mouse with ears wears red pants and drives a car.
And has a whole park somewhere. No, it's yeah, no. Okay, another comic strip character in the strip. Let me see. Zero. Zero's always a favorite of mine because he's so goofy.
Well, there's another character I've had trouble with because people think I'm making fun of retarded people. But I said, no, he's not retarded. He's just an innocent farm boy. And everybody loves him. He just isn't sophisticated, that's all. And, of course, the standard thing about dumb people, I don't know why, but almost every dumb person in a comic strip has buck teeth.
Right. It's interesting. Your style has the same basic theme for all your characters, yet they all look so different, and it's just those little nuances that just changes everything.
Somebody told me when I started out, they said, you've got to draw your characters so that they're recognizable in silhouette. So they have to have their facial shapes and everything like that, so you know who they are.
That makes sense. One more character. General Half-Trek.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of generals like this guy.
Okay.
I don't know how they ever got to be general. I like him just because he embodies all my faults.
Okay.
He plays golf, flirts with girls, drinks martinis, all the things I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, it's important we say that. That's right. He's a great character. Well, as I said in the beginning, we're out of time right now. You really are one of my cartooning heroes since I'm a kid. I've grown up loving your work, and I wish you 50 more years of continued success with Beetle Bailey and everything else you do.
I'll take another 50 years.
Thanks so much for being on the show.
Okay.
Now stay tuned for Cartoon Doodle Tricks. Mort, thanks so much. Today's doodle trick. Remember I told you that bird is the word. Well, that's what we're going to do today, and my friends are here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, let's get started, and we'll start with the B of the word bird. Now, right here, I'm going to draw a beak. And I'll put an eye right in there. And an eyebrow. And some crazy looking hair. How's that? And up top, propeller, like a beanie. How's that? And some tail feathers and some feet. And some lines on the feet, just like that, sitting on a perch. Now, it's a very rare bird. In fact, let's make him blue, and I'll use my color sticks for this. And I'm using my not too blue color stick. And as I said, this is a very rare bird with the beanie up top. This is the blue beanie bird. And did you know a man went into a pet store to buy a blue beanie bird? And the pet store owner said, it's very expensive, you know. He says, that's okay, just send me the bill. And the other guy says, oh no, you got to take the whole bird. All right. Now let's do the next one. Now this line here is going to be for a bird that I don't know too many birds that have legs this long except this one here. You tell me what you think this one is. When you see this neck, you'll know. Who knows what that is? Anybody?
Flamingo.
A flamingo. Very good. Okay. Now for the R. Well, let's see. I got it. We're going to have, R is for a rooster. So let's put a beak right there. And that's another bird. And some wings and some tail feathers. And this part of the R will be his feet. Strutting along. And you know what? Over here, D is for what else?
Duck.
Duck. I didn't even say, that's great. That's exactly right. We'll make a duck. So we'll put a neck on that part and put a circle there and put his bill. Send me the bill. Okay, you heard that one. Okay. Here's the eye, and here's the duck bill, and there's his neck. A little detail there, and some feathers back there as well. And let's put him in the water, and some hair up there, and let's add some color to this. Flamingos. What color are they?
Pink.
Pink. That's right. So I'll use my pink punk. That's the name of this color. How nice that looks. Okay, so we've got the blue beanie bird, pink flamingo, and a rooster, a red rooster. And I'm using my cartoon maroon color stick. Yeah, I like that. Now for the duck. Well, we'll leave the duck white, and we'll use orange You Glad color stick for his bill. And how about a little bit of water, a little bit of blue for that. And there it is. You like that, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today, and I hope you've enjoyed it at home, and I hope you guys did. Now, for our tip of the day. Your pencil likes exercise, so take them for a walk around the page once in a while and practice, right?
Yeah.
I'm Bruce Blica saying thanks for being with me, and everybody help me out with this one.
Keep on cartooning.
Just like they said.